Hello and welcome to another edition of Wolverine Confidential Podcast. I'm Ryan Zook.
Your first week hosting, you already screwed up.
Yes, I know. It didn't take long.
I'm Aaron McMahon. Welcome back.
And we're obviously without Andrew today. He's on vacation doing something, maybe trying out for the Mets. Who knows? They could use a cleanup hitter.
Yeah.
But football's back, as social media has told me over the last few days. And it seems like you weren't able to go to practice at all and did anything for Michigan.
Not yet. No. They started practice camp on Friday. They practiced again on Saturday, and they're back at it today. We will finally get some coaches on Wednesday, and then we'll go from there. I think we get Coach Harbaugh next Monday. So we should hear from relatively soon. Things have gotten underway. At this point, every college football program has started their fall camp. Michigan, I believe, the last count was 26 days until the season opener against Notre Dame.
It's going to go by quick, that's for sure. And if you're looking at the 2018 roster, there's a couple notable omissions from that roster compared to 2017.
Yeah, roster came out Thursday night, just before the start of camp. We knew about Kareem Walker, who was already transferring. He's going to Fort Scott Community College in Kansas. But then we got two new names. Tyrone Wheatley, who Michigan confirmed Thursday night is leaving. In fact, he's already found a new home as well. We wrote about it today on MLive.com. He's off to Stony Brook, FCS school in New York. He's got 2 years eligibility left. He will be able to play right away. And that's the key with these transfers. That's why a lot of times you'll see these guys at D1 schools go to junior colleges or FCS programs, or they'll go D2. Because they're able to play right away. If they go from one FBS school to another, they got to sit out a year. So sometimes these guys, they want to keep playing. They want to, maybe, have a big season, fill up a stat sheet. So they go to some of these schools. So Wheatley, we got confirmation from Thursday night. Apparently it was his decision to leave. It was, it wasn't something where Michigan maybe forced him out. It was his decision. But then the other one is interesting because we still haven't got confirmation from anyone on this. However, wide receiver Crawford is no longer listed on the 2018 Michigan roster. He was a name that came up a few months ago with Kareem Walker and a couple others as being rumored to have left the Michigan program. Some of you may remember this, some of you may not. But back in June, actually, Jim Harbaugh went on his podcast and he was talking about the walk-ons at that point. But he said he put a list up in Schembechler Hall for the whole team. Basically, it was June 1st. He put up a list of names of the guys that would make the roster as of June 1st. And he made a point of saying there were several scholarship guys that were on that list. So they kind of had to earn their way back on the team, whether it was in conditioning or in the weight room or whatever. I'd assume at this point Crawford and Kareem Walker were on that list.
And I mean, Crawford, he got a decent amount of playing time last year. Didn't have a huge impact, but he did see the field.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. He caught 21 passes for 290 yards and 2 touchdowns. This was in his 2 years at Michigan. Last year, 17 passes for 243 yards. So he got some playing time. And I think the thing, especially with last year, was he had an opportunity. We saw Michigan was so thin at receiver. Obviously, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Tariq Black went down early on. Grant Perry was a big deal there, but there was really no one else. So there was opportunities for guys to kind of step up and have their time to shine, so to speak. And Crawford never really did it. Former 4-star prospect, he was the 20th best wide receiver in the 2016 class, according to 24/7 Sports. So he had a lot of hype behind him coming in. He just didn't really materialize. Unclear at this point where he's going.
And then Wheatley, I mean, obviously, when you're bringing back Gentry and McCoon, I mean, it's not much of an opportunity there for Wheatley to kind of leapfrog them in the depth chart.
No, the tight end room is packed. In fact, going down the roster Thursday night, I counted 13 tight ends on the roster. Now 6 of them are on scholarship, so you got a lot of walk-ons and a lot of those type of guys. So that number will trim down as they finalize the roster for the regular season. But they've got a lot of tight ends there. We know Jim Harbaugh likes using tight ends. He will continue to do so. You mentioned McCune. You mentioned Gentry. Nick Eubanks is back and healthy.
Right, yeah.
They got two tight ends that came in with the 2018 recruiting class. There are a lot of bodies there. So for someone like Tyrone Wheatley, who didn't get a lot of targets last season, this is probably the right move.
I'm sure it'll all be sorted out a little bit in the next, like you said, 20-something days until the season opener against 26 now. And it's going to be a green out for the Notre Dame game. And ESPN College GameDay will be in South Bend.
Yeah, the hype is kind of already started for this game. Both of these teams are going to be ranked in the top 25. Notre Dame announced last week that they're doing a green out. Now, what that exactly means, I'm unsure. Now, I'm assuming they're going to encourage the fans to wear green at the stadium. Are they going to wear green uniforms? That's kind of remains to be seen. But so it's gonna be, it's gonna be a big deal. And then we got news Saturday night, which I found to be really weird. What ESPN announced Saturday evening, it was around 5:00, that College Game Day for Week 1 will emanate and broadcast live from South Bend, Indiana, for the Michigan Notre Dame game. Now, keep in mind the Michigan Notre Dame game is a 7:30 p.m. kickoff, so it's a night game. It's gonna be shown on NBC. Notre Dame has its deal with NBC. All of its home games are shown there. So that's not ordinary, but ESPN finds this game to be one of the bigger ones that weekend. So they're going to broadcast live that morning from South Bend, and it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan 14th in the preseason coaches poll, which was just released recently too.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, kind of where you expected them to be?
Yeah, and I think Andrew asked me this, was it last week or 2 weeks ago on the podcast? He asked if, Michigan's going to be the top 10 or 15, and I said, yeah, probably 15. And sure enough, they're 14. Michigan State was 12. Ohio State's 3. They've obviously got some issues we might get into here in a few minutes, but Wisconsin 7 and Penn State 9. So that Big Ten East, and as we've talked about this already, but that Big Ten East is crowded. It's going to be competitive, and knowing what Michigan is returning, especially defensively, Michigan's got a shot here. They've got to win some big games, but yeah, 14's right about where I'd put them.
Now they 2 spots behind Michigan State in the coaches poll, but in ESPN's top 50 players for this upcoming season,
Mm-hmm.
Michigan has 4 players on that list. Michigan State doesn't have any.
Yeah.
And starting off with the Wolverines, you have Rashawn Gary at number 8, Devin Bush at 22nd, Shea Patterson, which is a little bit surprising to me at 25, considering, obviously he's probably going to start, but hasn't been named the starter yet. Yeah. And you have Chase Winovich at 46. So, any of those players surprise you as well?
Not really. I think Rashawn Gary, I thought was a little low. I thought he could have been a little higher just because I think
he's number 3 on Kuiper's
him.
NFL draft board right now.
Yeah, and he's projected to go, top 5, top 10 in the NFL draft. So a little high, but Gary's expected to have a big year. Bush again is poised to have another big year. Patterson, I was surprised that was in there, but at the same token, he's getting a lot of preseason hype. His numbers are big at Ole Miss. He is projected to get the starting job. So he's, I guess I'm not shocked he's in there, but in the same token, 25 is a little high. And then Chase Winovich, he's a guy who he could have went the NFL last season. He's not. He's back. He could have another big year. In fact, I think he will. So they're all deserving. I'm surprised Lavert Hill didn't get in there. He's another potential NFL draft pick next year. Had a really good year last year, all Big Ten guy. But I'd assume he's probably.
And it is preseason rankings too. Right. You take these with a grain of salt. Once week 1 starts, a lot of this will change.
Yeah.
And we have another wide receiver commit.
Yeah, we do. Quintel Kent. He's interesting because he's a guy that technically had no stars before he committed on Saturday. Wide receiver out of Ohio, Lakewood, Ohio. He had 7 scholarship offers prior to committing to Michigan, and they weren't big schools. It was Bowling Green, it was Kent State, it was Ball State, it was Northern Illinois, Western Kentucky. So a lot of MAC and borderline D1 programs. Obviously, Michigan sees something in him. As soon as he committed, I think he became a 3-star prospect on 24/7 Sports. So obviously, the Wolverines see something in him. They like him. I would assume they look at him as a diamond in the rough type. It's notable because he is their first wide receiver commit for the class of 2019. So they do need someone. They obviously need a wideout, and they apparently found them.
Still a lot of time on that front, though. And Michigan basketball program also added a new recruit, Cole Bajima, a 6'7", 175-pounder from a small town in northern Washington State. We have a story up at MLive.com, and he grew up in Grand Haven for a few years, grew up a huge Wolverines fan, and before 2 weeks ago, he didn't have an offer from a major conference school, and then it looks like he's had a really strong AAU season. Now he's since garnered offers from Washington, Xavier, Virginia, after a strong showing in the AAU season, even though he's not playing for a big-time team. It looks like Beeline's kept tabs on him throughout the season, the summer, and he took a visit to campus in June and decided Michigan was his dream school and decided to commit. So, 6'7", 175 pounds. It looks like one of those Beeline projects where they're going to develop into his body and get a little bit bigger, stronger. But, there's still plenty of time to do that. It's his second Michigan commit of the 2019 class. joining Jalen Wilson of Texas. So, still a lot of time there, and we'll see. He's another guy who wasn't ranked by any recruiting sites. It looks like 24/7 Sports has him as a 4-star now, but his deposit ranking, he's not ranked. So another one, a fastly rising star, a recruit possibly there in Cole Bajima.
His name's come up, I remember the last week or two, and I think Andrew's been writing about him, of late. But yeah, you're right. I think he's a guy who could potentially be one of those Beeline projects that you develop and you turn into a good college basketball player. Beyond that, we'll see. He does sound slim, but he's got time to bulk up, and he probably will. So.
The biggest news in the Big Ten recently now is
we'd be remiss not to.
Yeah, exactly. Urban Meyer, Ohio State. Talk of radio shows right now. It's the big talk of is he going to be the coach of Ohio State? Obviously in the middle of an investigation right now. Released today that it's expected to be completed within 14 days. But once those 14 days are up, it's anyone's guess what might happen.
I will say this: when this first came out, I thought this would quickly blow over. I thought Urban handled it well, Big Ten Media Days. Just the way he kind of, sidestepped it and didn't try to make it a big deal. And then he got caught in a lie, basically. He got caught saying that he didn't know anything about it, and turns out he did. He says he reported it to his boss, the AD up there. And now you've got Jack Smith, the fired receivers coach, coming out and saying that Urban knew about it and handled it the right way. Urban says he handled it the right way. But you got Urban caught in a lie. You got both of them pointing at their bosses. You've got Ohio State doing this independent investigation to Urban now. It's going to get interesting here. Urban obviously isn't with the team right now. He's on paid administrative leave. That's left, the Ohio State coaching staff, running camp right now without him. Ohio State's projected to be a top 5 team. They're projected to win the Big Ten. This could have serious implications not only for this Ohio State football team this season. Say he is fired, or there's a buyout negotiated or something happens here. What's going to happen from there? Then you look at the seismic shift with recruiting. Guys may not decommit from Ohio State. How does that play into the rivalry with Michigan? There's just so many things to happen here, and I'm curious to see how this plays out.
I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about in future podcasts about what happens here as well.
Yeah, the fact that they've got investigation, Ohio State's enlisted all these folks and created this panel, to me, says that there's a particular desire to try and get Urban Meyer out the door here. Now, keep in mind, he signed a 2-year extension back in April, so he's locked in through 2022, making more than $7 million a year. If they try and buy him out, and Urban's made it pretty clear from his statement on Friday, and some of the other things that have been said to the media, but it sounds like to me that he's not walking away. He's not going to resign. It's either he's going to coach his football team this season, or they're going to force him out. And in that case, then it becomes a problem for Ohio State because can you fire him for cause or can you not?
Right.
And if they can't, then they got to pay him a boatload of money. And that's, I think, what Ohio State's trying to do right now. They've enlisted this special counsel, this special board. So it's going to be curious to see how it plays out. It's got serious implications for the Big Ten, for Ohio State, for Michigan. It's going to be worth following.
Back to the Wolverines really quick. I know we talked about this a little bit before, but are there a few things you're really looking at during fall or camp here for the Wolverines before their season opener?
Yeah, I think I published something the other day. Was it Friday? I think 8 storylines to watch, and I won't go through every one, but there are particular things on both sides of the ball I'm looking for. Obviously, quarterback is the big deal, and I would be surprised if, and a lot of people have been asking about the quarterback situation. I don't think there's any doubt at this point. It's Shea Patterson's job. They brought him in here for a reason. He has the numbers. He has the capability. There's been a lot of talk about him. But then from there, how does this offense kind of field around him? You got question marks in the offense. You got question marks in the offensive line. Yeah, we keep going over that. Can the tackles play well? Can they protect and can they do their job in pass protection? That's going to be the key this year, because obviously I think with Shea, things change offensively. They can get away with certain things. He can spread the field and extend plays, which I think helps. It would have went a long way last season. But then, we'll see how the line holds up. And then defensively, I think they're pretty much set. We've talked about this before, 9-11 stars on defense. I don't think there'd be any problem with the defensive line. You've got one battle at linebacker. It sounds like Devin Gill is the leader, but there are several guys behind them that are fighting. But not only the the structure on defense, you got so many guys experienced back. You got so many starters coming back, but the depth behind them. I mean, there are guys, defensive line that could go in and play right away. You got so many guys lined up at linebacker. The secondary returns all 4 guys, and you've got Casey Hughes, who I think, and I said this in a radio interview over the weekend, but I think Casey Hughes is one of the more interesting storylines coming, especially the defensive side of the ball with this team. You know, he's a guy, he's a graduate transfer cornerback from Utah. Started 11 games last year as a junior at cornerback. Well, Michigan isn't going to replace Lavert Hill or David Long this year. They both got the jobs knocked down. So where does Casey Hughes fit in? You know, is he going to play a nickel spot? Is he going to take a safety job from maybe a Josh Puntelis or a Tyree Cannell? That remains to be seen, but he's definitely going to fit in the picture. They've said he's going to start out the safety room, but where he ends up playing is going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of intriguing storylines to follow here over the next couple of weeks. I'm sure you'll have plenty of stories up at MLive.com. Yeah. We'll be back next week with another Wolverine Confidential podcast. Join us then.
Andrew will be back, too.
Andrew will be back, yes.